Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the monthly soggy way too early 2023 NBA mock draft. These are legitimately probably my favorite type of videos to make because I love scouting into the draft. I love diving really deep into all the prospects, and I really just like giving it out as far as like a lottery every month because it can change due to records and standings, and then also due to players performing better in college and then other players performing less. So the lottery order can always change, and they're really one of my favorite videos to make, and I just think it's very interesting and fun. So I'm gonna probably turn this into a monthly thing all the way up until the actual NBA draft itself. So I hope y'all do like these type of videos, and if y'all do, please watch it all the way through. And without further ado, without running on too much, just get right into this video. And with the first overall pick, we have the Houston Rockets selecting the baby giraffe, not even baby giraffe, the fully grown male giraffe, Wembanyama himself. I don't think I really have to explain this one. He is Victor Wembanyama. He is 7'5". He can do a lot of things. He can shoot the ball. He's a freak, okay? He's gonna go first overall. There's really not much analysis that has to go into this. Wembanyama, unless he gets injured, is going to be a beast. He is going to be anyone's first overall pick pretty much no matter what. So I think for sure Houston right here would be getting their star franchise player for the future in Wembanyama. And now with the second overall pick, kind of following the same logic, we have the Charlotte Hornets selecting Scooty Boy Henderson himself. Now Scoot is a little bit less guaranteed, but he's still guaranteed to be the second overall pick. You know, like I could see a world where a team doesn't pick Scoot, but I think they would be wrong. I think Scoot is for sure the second best player in this draft class, and pretty much no matter who has that pick should go out and get Scoot Henderson. And I don't even think Scoot would fit that good with the Charlotte Hornets because they already have LaMelo, who's a beast, but I do think for sure that you have to pick him because Scoot Henderson is a superstar level guard. He's a freak athlete. He can score with the best of them. He can score at all three levels. He's very fast. He has potential to be a good defender. You have to pick him. He's a full package when it comes to an offensive guard. And moving on to the third overall pick, we have Motor City, the Detroit Pistons, picking one half of the Thompson twins, that being Ausar Thompson. And this is kind of a hill I'm going to die on at this point. I think Ausar Thompson is the better half of the Thompson twins, and that is not a popular opinion at all. Now, people are starting to put them a lot closer than they were at the beginning of the year, but people still kind of like unanimously say Amen is better, and in my opinion, that's just not the case, and I think Ausar is the better twin, and that is who Detroit should pick. And the reason why I think they should pick it is because, I mean, Ausar Thompson really does fill in a need for this starting lineup when it comes to a young talent perspective, as they already have guys like Killian Hayes, Cade Cunningham, and Jaden Ivey at the guard positions, and then they have Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart to fill out the center and power forward positions. Really, the only position they don't have a young guy with an extremely high ceiling at is small forward. Now, yes, their debatably best player right now is their small forward, and Bojan Bogdanovic, however you say his name, and he's been playing very, very good for them, but I think someone like Ausar Thompson has a chance to play at an all-star level, could be a very good scorer for them. He's a very solid passer, and he can really just do everything on the court, and I think having someone with as high of a ceiling as Ausar with the third overall pick and being your starting small forward with how young of a team that they have, they would all be on the same timeline to develop together, and I think that would make the future of this Detroit Pistons teams extremely, extremely high. And now moving to pick number 4, we have the San Antonio Spurs selecting the other half of the Thompson twins in Amen Thompson. Now, this is much higher than I normally would have Amen Thompson going. Not much higher, but it is a little bit higher than I normally would have him going, but I do think that he really fits the San Antonio Spurs team very well. He has an extremely high upside. He's a freak athlete. He's like, I think, a 6'7" point guard. He's a very good passer. He has extreme athleticism and speed, and if he can just get his three-point and his jump shot looking a little bit better, he has a extremely, extremely high ceiling. And with small forward being probably the biggest weakness for the San Antonio Spurs starting lineup, I think that he would fit perfectly, and I think Greg Popovich and his staff is a perfect situation to develop someone like Amen Thompson. Now, I know they have guys like Devin Vassell, but he's more of a shooting guard. They have Keldon Johnson, who's a power forward. Jakob Poeltl's a decent center. Their point guard and Tyus Jones isn't great, but I think he's usable. I think small forward is the position they should want to attack the most, and that is exactly what Amen Thompson would be giving you. And now with the 5th overall pick, we have the Orlando Mickey Mouse Magic selecting Cam Whitmore. Now, Cam Whitmore is one of the more unknown big names of this team. not unknown in the fact that people don't know about him, but in my opinion, like unknown to know how good he is going to be when he enters the NBA. Because there's no denying how freakishly athletic and gifted Cam Whitmore is. He's extremely strong, extremely fast, extremely athletic. He kind of looks like Zion Williamson-esque out there. Now, obviously not as good or like skilled as Zion is, but he kind of has the same play style and build as Zion. And although he does have all these undeniably really good intangibles, his skills don't really back it up yet, as his three-point shot is really far away from where you would want it to be. His mid-range game isn't really there. He can't really like create a jump shot for himself, but he can get to the lane by himself, so he does have a few things going for him. But I think overall he has the most development to do for all the biggest names in this draft, and I think for sure Cam Whitmore would fit with this Orlando Magic team very, very nicely and would give them a very high-level defender off day one, plus giving them a guy with extremely high upside going into the future to try to develop with Paolo and guys like that. So I do think he would fit very well with this team. I just think he has the most development to go out of all of the big star level names in this draft class. And now 6th overall, we have the Washington Wizards selecting Brandon Miller. Now, Brandon Miller, I am very high on him. I think he's going to be a very good player. He's extremely versatile. He could be a great two-way player on defense and offense. He can score for all three levels. He has very good length. He's going to be just a very, very good player in the NBA. He probably even has all-star potential, and I really do like Brandon Miller here with the 6th overall pick, and I think the Wizards would be getting a huge addition right here because someone like Bradley Beal is an extremely good offensive player, but isn't the best defender. But Brandon Miller can be very good on both sides of the ball. Pair that with someone like Gafford, Avengita, Corey Kispert, and all the Rui Hachimura, all their other picks as well, and they might be building a little bit something going into the future. And I think Brandon Miller has extremely high upside when it comes to the offensive end as well, because he might not be as polished as you would want him to be, but he is still a very, very good offensive player. And I do think he is going to be a very good player in this league for years and years to come. And now 7th overall, we're going back to the Orlando Magic, and they're picking Nick Smith Jr. Now, the reason I mainly had them picking Cam Whitmore is because although Cam Whitmore is a lot less of a guarantee than a lot of these players I've mentioned so far, I think Nick Smith Jr. has a very much, at least he's going to be a very good guard. And I know Orlando has tons of young guards already, but Nick Smith Jr. has way too high of an upside, and I think he's way too good of a player to pass up if you're Orlando. And I think him and Cam Whitmore would fit very well together, and Paolo as well. So I think all of them would be able to develop at a very high level together. I think Nick Smith is one of the better offensive guards in the entire thing, and he's also a very solid defender, and he is bringing you star potential with how he's built. And I just think overall Nick Smith Jr. could be a great addition to this Orlando team. They would finally be getting a now starting lineup that looks very, very good with Markelle Fultz, Nick Smith Jr., Paolo, Franz Wagner. Then you would also have Cam Whitmore, Wendell Carter Jr., Bol Bol. You have so much talent at that point on your roster. You can do so many different things, and you have a lot of versatility as well. And I just think for sure getting an all-star level point guard with the 7th overall pick after already picking someone with the upside of Cam Whitmore would be a great, great draft for the Orlando Magic. Now 8th overall, we have the New Orleans Pelicans selecting Gregory Jackson. Now, if you don't know, the Pelicans have the Lakers pick, and right now this is where it would land. And I think if the Pelicans got someone like Gregory Jackson, that would already make a very good team even better, as he fits perfectly with what the Pelicans like. The Pelicans love to pick very lengthy, versatile players that can defend the entire floor, but can also have offensive upside, and that is exactly what Gregory Jackson is. Gregory Jackson is a very good athlete with a very good build that can guard pretty much the 1 through 4 positions at a very high level. He has extreme two-way potential, and although I don't think he will ever be an all-star, I do think he will be a very high-level player, and I love Gregory Jackson here for the Pelicans, and I think he would fit almost seamlessly with what the Pelicans try to do. Now 9th overall, we have the Toronto Raptors selecting Anthony Black. Now, Anthony Black is a very solid player. Now, although he does have a lot of things to touch up on when it comes to the shooting the ball and just all-around offensive side, he does have so much great things going for him as well, and I think he could be a great replacement for a guy like Fred VanVleet, as he is a great passer, and he's like a very Giddey-esque. In my opinion, coming in, he is a more athletic Josh Giddey. He's a very talented passer. He can pass very good. He's a pretty big point guard. I think he's like 6'6", 6'7", something like that. He has very good size for the position he plays. He has very good athleticism. He has already the foundations to be a very good offensive player, and he works hard on the defensive end as well. And overall is just a very smart player, someone you love to run your point guard position. And when you put that where you have like Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, Anthony Black, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, and you're putting together a very fun team going into the future, and a very solid team as well. So I think for sure he would fit almost perfectly with this Toronto Raptors team. And now the first pick in double digits, we have the Portland Trailblazers selecting Maxwell Lewis. Now Maxwell Lewis is one of my favorite players in this draft class. In my opinion, he's very undervalued, and he legitimately has all-star level potential, as he is, like I said, one of my favorite players. He's an extremely good scorer. He has elite upside. He plays for Pepperdine, so he's a little bit less unknown, but he just scores at such a high level. He can score from all three parts of the court. He's very athletic. He has good size. Like, I like everything about Maxwell Lewis, and I think for sure he's going to be a very solid player for Portland. And you put that alongside Anthony Simons, Damian Lillard, Shadion Sharp, Jeremiah Grant, Josh Hart, all these very solid players in Portland, and you could really be cooking with something. And I think Maxwell Lewis is going to be one of these steals of this class. And now the 11th overall pick, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder selecting Keyonte George. Now this pick kind of like stumped me for a little bit to whether they would go for a little bit more versatility or the for sure thing in Keyonte George, and I eventually settled with them picking George, as he is a very good offensive guard. I think he would fit very good with man off their bench, as giving them a really much needed scoring punch. And I just think for sure that someone like Keyonte George would be huge for them off their bench. It would give them a legit scoring threat to go with Trey Mann. I think that you would be getting much needed depth, and overall Keyonte George may one day even be able to start for them in certain situations. That he's a very good player, and he's going to be very solid when he gets to the NBA. I have no doubts about that. Now, I don't think he will be an all-star level player, but I do think he will be a very good guard in this league. And now going to the 12th overall pick, we have the Atlanta Hawks selecting Cason Wallace. Now, Cason Wallace isn't one of those point guards or really players that are going to go off and show you like super high potential and very flashy, but he's one of those point guards that's going to do all the dirty work you want. He's going to be a very good passer. He's going to be smart. He's not going to ever lose you a game, and he's just going to be one of those very solid players that you always want on your roster. And the reason I have Atlanta picking them is because that is exactly what they need. They already have all the scoring they need. They have Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, John Collins, Bogdan off their bench, AJ Griffin, Jalen Johnson. They have a ton of scoring throughout this entire roster, okay? Now, although Cason Wallace can score the ball, that's far from what he's known for. He's a very good defender, a very smart passer, and I think he's really going to be able to bring a different aspect to the game that this Atlanta Hawks team desperately needs. And I think Cason Wallace would fit very good with that bench unit, and him being your starting point guard with AJ Griffin at shooting guard off your bench is very, very good. And now the second to last pick, we have the Phoenix Suns selecting Jarace Walker. Jarace Walker is a very solid scorer for what he plays. He's at the power forward position. He does have a little bit of upside. He's pretty athletic. He can do a lot of things, and ultimately I think he could be a very good replacement to someone like Jay Crowder, who has refused to play for the Suns because they wanted him to come off their bench. A really weird situation with Jay Crowder, but I think Jarace Walker would be able to perfectly replace him with a younger, probably better at this point in their career guy. He's a very solid defender, very good scorer, and they just can overall get a very solid player for that power forward position, and maybe even start for them from day one. And now with the last pick in this mock draft, we have the Utah Jazz selecting Kris Murray. Now, Kris Murray is a very fun player. He's actually the brother of Keegan Murray, who's been very good for the Sacramento Kings this year, and I think Kris Murray has a chance to be very solid as well. Now, I don't think he has the upside that his brother had, but I think he does still have very good upside with very high potential, as he gives them a very skilled small forward. He could be very good. He's pretty versatile. He can do a lot of things, and I think he's going to be very solid at least. He's going to be at minimum a very good rotational small forward for anyone, and I think he could be very much a starting level small forward in the NBA when all things are said and done. So with that being the last pick in the lottery, you love to get a starting level small forward that can score at all three levels of the court. You can't ask for much more at that point. But unfortunately, guys, that's going to be for this video. So comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that any player should have been higher, lower? Do you think I missed one? On your thoughts in the comment section below. If you'd like to point the like button and subscribe button, it would mean an absolute word to me. And I hope you have a blessed day. Can I have a blessed day? See you now. Blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.